So Tan, over to you. Just share a little bit about yourself and whatever little bits you feel, and what sort of, particularly how you've encountered Islam in Malaysia and elsewhere.
Okay. I'll try to be brief about myself. I don't want to talk about myself, and I don't want to listen to my voice only. So yeah, basically I come from Malaysia and grew up in a very Muslim country where you go to school every week. Monday you have to go to assembly point where you have to listen to Islamic prayer. And in the school, when you read the books, curriculum, they will try to force in this element of Islam, and the way they force it in is kind of intimidation. So it's like you can't question. I mean, to me, learning history is about being very as objective as possible. History is not about date. It's not about just remembering the event, but the way they implement this curriculum is why a lot of I would say majority of the minority in Malaysia are having this opposing or disgusted feeling towards Islam, the way they implement it. So that's why I mean that's how I came to be. For 30 years, I mean I've been being pressured or forced into this current state of me speaking out against Islam, and I'm fully committed to that. So 30 years of suppression mentally, because if you this is already happening in London, by the way, but in Malaysia, everywhere you go, every neighborhood, there will be one masjid, a mosque, where they put on a loudspeaker and they pray 5 times a day, and they play out on a loudspeaker to everyone here in the neighborhood. Every day, every single day, I have to listen to this Muslim prayer, even though it sounds disgusting. I mean, it's so difficult. It's so yeah. Yeah. Thank you for showing that, demonstrating that. So it's so disgusting. It doesn't even sound nice, but it's like as if they don't have mirror. They don't have self-awareness. It's like I don't know why. It's like Muslims do not have self-awareness. If I try to sing, I can't sing, by the way. If I try to sing and I put it on a loudspeaker 5 times a day and for everyone to listen, I know I'm tormenting all of you. I know I'm killing you, all of you, silently, slowly. But to them, it's like they think this is great. It's like going back. It's like communist propaganda. You know how the communists in the 80s, in the 80s, they put on loudspeakers, playing the propaganda, and pray to Mao Zedong or whatever. Or even now in North Korea, you see, Islam is like communists. Just accept that one is religion, one is not religion, but communist is towards science. So all of this is like piecing together, and then in 1998, when I was reading the newspaper, I heard in 1998 there was this economic crisis, and then in Indonesia, my neighboring country, they start blaming the minority, the Chinese native, and then say, oh, they are the one causing it, and then they start killing and raping the Chinese there, even though the Chinese in Indonesia has assimilated with the Indonesia community 100%. They don't even have a Chinese name. They can't even speak Chinese. They only speak Indonesian. Yet they get blamed because of skin color, because of they have a lot of exposure in the business sector. But they blame them, and then they kill them, and then they slaughter them and rape them. And I saw that when I was like, I think 19 years old, and that was disgusting to me. We're suing. This is how Muslims behave. They just keep blaming and blaming and blaming. And now fast forward today, when you look at Indonesia, after they blame, they don't have a solution. If you look at Germany, after Hitler blamed the Jew, at least they have a plan. In the Indonesian, in Muslim, they just blame and blame. They don't have a solution afterwards. They just keep blaming. And now after they kill the Chinese and nobody invests there, nobody build up the economy there, looks what happened. Extreme Islam take over now. And then what happened is just they're still suffering now. Look at Indonesia. They have this moral officer going around catching people who try to have sex or have a boyfriend, girlfriend. It's like, where is the Muslim priority? Sex or uplifting the community, the whole country economically and so on. I mean, it's like they have lost the plot. You know, they don't know what they're doing. This Muslim, they just want to blame, and then they just preach, and that's it. Whatever they come after doesn't matter. See, this is why I'm so against Islam, because it's a very poisonous ideology that it doesn't offer any solution. It just like it's like all about domination for them. That's why Islam is it's a political tool for them. It's not really a religion. It's a warrior cult. If you look at it
but don't you know all religions are the same?
Yes,
they basically preach the same message.
More or less. But I would say,
I'm joking.
Today, what other religion do you have that still do the same? Only Islam is still doing that.
The difference between It's like Sam Harris says, the difference between Buddhism and Islam is like comparing.
I would say Buddhism and Islam is very different. Because
Yes.
firstly, Buddhism doesn't even believe in a God. So how do you rally people? It's like the Four Noble Truth. I mean, your concept of Buddhism is like you can't even kill animal. And how do you rally people around under Buddhism? Even in Myanmar, it wasn't just Buddhist Myanmar. It wasn't Buddhist rallying the Buddhists. It was Buddhist rallying the whole people of Myanmar, the military. So you got to see the difference. It doesn't spread to other places in the world. That's a fundamental difference between Buddhism and Islam. But Islam is like everywhere you go, they have this they start from minority. When they're minority, they try to become victim and so on and so on. They slowly grow. And when they have the numbers, they start asking for trouble. Even in Myanmar, the troubles begins in Bangladesh. The Rohingya was burning the Buddhist temple. And then after that,
Yes.
and then now what happened? They lose because Myanmar take actions trying to protect
Yes,
the country.
what they never teach, what they never say in like the newspaper and so on is like they don't go back to the conflict's root. Like
sorry, I was eating. So that's one of the reason why. I mean, why is this pressure? I'm like a slow cooker. This pressure is building up in me since childhood, and the way they try to intimidate. I hate intimidations. The way that they try to intimidate you from speaking against anything. I think it's just I would say Islam is against humanity. So that's why as there are more terrorist attacks that happen more often, and how many years we already have a terrorist attack, and it still has not been solved. And when you talk to Muslims, they just say, "Oh, blame the West, blame the West." They never look at themselves. They are always outwards, expression. They never talk about themselves. So
can I ask a question about Malaysia specific?
Yeah, sure.
Is the effect, or can you feel the effect of the eastern areas of Malaysia, where it's more a fundamentalist, more conservative, let's say, flavor of Islam, whereas in KL itself, you have a more open version of Islam, where you even have female Islams, where you have women and men praying together and things like that. Do you feel the effect that slowly it is getting more conservative, or is it the other way around, that the rest of the country is getting more liberal?
So yes, I would say I can feel the effect of getting more conservative when you say East Peninsula Malaysia. So that's the stronghold of the PAS party, PAS, which is the Islamic party. I actually vote for them in the past. So I'm like the left wing of Western society. I actually vote the oppositions, which composed of 3 parties. So one is DAP, and then what is it called? The other one, leading by Anwar. So there are 3 parties. So the one of them is the Islamic Party. I actually vote for them, but they lost. They lost in 2000. I can't remember the date. So they lost, and then once they lost, means they don't have the power, they don't have the money. Then they start rebel against the opposite within the party, because you see they're all about power. So the moment that they lose, they become more conservative. They know they don't have the money, they don't have the power. Then they become more conservative. Then they break away from the oppositions. So to them it's very obvious that they're only into power. They're not really about Islam, not about spreading peace and love. So yes, I can feel the effect of conservative taking over in Malaysia. That's why I'm very worried. That's one of the reasons what pushed me to do this, because I can already see a live demonstration in Indonesia, and if the same thing happened in Malaysia, it's gone. It's gone. So
what about all the followers of people like Joseph Smith?
Joseph Smith.
That was a good one, Joseph Smith. Joseph Prince, what is his effect now?
Joseph Prince, who's that?
The guy in Singapore.
The guy in Singapore. Joseph Prince.
He had this.
Okay,
he has his own TV channels, and he has this huge following in Malaysia. And
is it a kid?
Sorry?
What is it about? I mean, I'm not good with names. Maybe do you have a pictures or something like that?
He has this what is it, Daystar channel, and he's doing a lot of proselytizing in Malaysia. And this is why a lot of Malaysians said, well, you're not allowed to follow him.
Okay, when was this? Actually, I do not know about Joseph Smith.
No, because my brother, he used to be one of the donators. He used to be a platinum card holder.
Okay. I'm not aware of this, Joseph Smith. Maybe
okay, I was just wondering if this... because I'm seeing now the effect in Malaysia where they are trying to oust all the other people who are thinking that we can have Christians, we can have Buddhists, we can have different religions here, which is what the case was 10 years ago when I was last there. But now this is changing.
Okay, so that sentiment, yes, that's changing. So they will say they're very peaceful. They'll have, but then you look at the last few years. They'll be trying to take down the cross from church. They actually raid the church, saying, "Oh, they are converting Muslim." You see, it's like the Muslim can convert other religion, but we cannot convert Muslim to other religion. It's like a one-way street for them. So there's no such thing as our religion. We are just being tolerance, and tolerance can only get you can't get you far. You know, it's like at some point it's gonna blow up. And if you talk about Asian mentalities, we are less confrontational. So that's why this is all illusion that everything is working out. So if you send an uncover to the minority group in Malaysia and start giving them interview, giving them this assurance of anonymity, they will. I can guarantee you'll get the result of like nobody like Islam. You see, when you just look at all on internet comments, all of them is like, "Hey, I'm from Malaysia, I'm Muslim, and we are very good." They speak on behalf of the minority. They never pass the mic to the minority, asking them, "Do you feel all right?" They know the answer will be the other way around. That's why they only try to speak on behalf of minority, and they try to intimidate me. They say, "If you come back, I'm going to kill you." See, this is exactly the point I'm proving here. So I can't even see any positive one. And the good one, the one that I actually spoke to before I came here, they won't be able to speak out because of this mob mentality that I brought up earlier. So they're afraid to speak out as well. So it's like minority. So they're trying to bully the world. Wherever they go. So in Malaysia, it's the same. This sentiment is real. It's real, and they're trying to spread it over to Sabah, Sarawak, which is the east, the Borneo. Yeah. So in Borneo, actually, the people actually are living in peace and harmony. But now they're trying to export this extreme Islamist headed by the Malay to that place, and I don't see how this is. This is heading nowhere. Everything is going downhill ever since this Islamist take over. So yes, I do not know who's Joseph Prince, but about the sentiment, yes.
I think Stops is going to show you now. So let me bring it up on screen there.
Yeah.
If I speak, you should see it. I'm sure you recognize the guy because he's very famous in Malaysia.
The scandal. This guy is in a scandal, right?
Yes.
Right.
He first raised the 19 million for the church, and yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he conned some money, yeah, and get busted, right?
Yeah, but he's amazingly popular in Malaysia because he's a Christian, and this is why the Muslims hate him, and this is why he is the #1 influencer in Malaysia, at least all the way, because it's only 300 kilometers, all the way into KL. And what is happening, this is what I heard, is that he is being shunned now, and they're trying to get him out of Malaysia.
Okay, but still, he was caught in a scandal and so on, but. Is he converting Muslim or what? What's happening?
Yes, this is the whole point. And whether he's in a scandal, do Malaysians care?
You're right. So it's not about a scandal; it's about converting, right? So that's why I'm saying that they're not sincere. It's like they only want to convert people to Islam, but they won't allow people to convert them out of Islam. And in Malaysia, that's the #1. The worst thing about this is if you're a Malay is a race, the primary race or the majority race in Malaysia. The moment they're born, they're Muslim. And they can't get out of Islam easily. That's the dangerous part. It's like you're born into slavery. you can't get out of it easily. You have a slave master, which is Allah. That's the dangerous part about Malaysia. And then they try to indoctrinate you with all this Islam teaching. We have so many religious schools. That's the problem I hate the most in Malaysia now. They are building more and more Islamic schools, which are not regulated. That's why there was this, I think 2 years ago, last year. There was this fire burning in East Peninsula, Malaysia. One of the Islamic religious schools burned down, and I think a lot of children died actually due to failure in safety regulation for fire prevention and so on. And yes, this is one of the events that broke, show that there are a lot of Islamic schools which are not regulated. Imagine that they are not regulated in Malaysia, Islamic school. So I can guess there will be a lot of terrorists in the training now. We did actually export some of terrorists out to Indonesia, Philippines, and so on. Like one of the bomber, we actually export one of the university teacher to Indonesia to teach them how to make bomb. So as you can see, there are so many Islamic schools that was not regulated in Malaysia, which was exposed after this fire incident. And imagine what will happen in 10 years time, 20 years time. We have so many Muslim graduates that can't do anything. They will be radicalized eventually. And the funny thing about that, after that fire incident happened, people were posting on Twitter saying, thank God they are now in heaven, and actually drew a comics of these children in heaven. That's like irony. I mean, why are you celebrating that in heaven now? Because of human failure to build a proper school with a proper fire prevention and so on. It's like, this is why I find it so dumb.
What did Mohammed Tawheed say to you last week when off camera?
Off camera. So he followed me after. So after I left that talk, and he actually followed me and then tried to talk again, but then another Muslim just jumped in and tried to supposedly, give in a different opinion. And then I just left, I don't even know what his point is. He's just like not satisfied with what I'm doing. He just want to keep pulling me in and in and in. So, but I'm glad that all of that happened. I mean, you don't have to agree with my method of doing things in Speaker's Corner, but I'm glad that that thing was recorded and it just showed that he's one of those that is not sincere. He's there to win. He's all about camera. Him and the camera.
He's a thug. Well, I mean, he and his buddy Hamid, they're thugs. They've threatened other people. I mean, You lose brain cells talking to them. So that's like scraping the bottom of the barrels. But again, it's the irony of them walking around thinking that they kind of own Speaker's Corner when they're the least educated, most psychologically low-level people basically there, and that's saying a lot because there's a number of other ones as you're well aware. So it's a waste of time. And as you say, you're a snake, you're this, that, and the other. But this clown, of course, doesn't know what irony is. Even if you could explain it to him and give him a roadmap, he wouldn't understand it. So my view on him, I tried to explain something to him once. He just laughed. I mean, it was way over his head. I tried to suggest to them that Sarah was a gift to them if they understood how to have a conversation and deal with him in a different way. This completely bypassed him. It's like a juvenile's mentality in a man's body, and he's not the only one, by the way, as you're well aware anyway. So don't waste your time. I mean, he's a loudmouth.
But I'm not wasting my time. But
brain cells to rub together.
I'm glad it showed that the way that works and all that. Like in this mob, they're just chanting, just chanting, blah blah blah, and they don't even know what they're talking about. Everyone just like the terrorists in the Middle East shooting an AK-47 to the air, and they say Akbar. That's all they do. They just chant and shout, and they don't even know what they're doing.
I mean, he would be right at home on the front line with ISIS. That's where he should be, really. Why is he bothering to come down to London?
Yeah, he actually pushed me at the time.
Allahu Akbar.
That's all I know.
Yeah, you could definitely see him with a scarf around his head and carrying an AK-47. So that's where he really should be. I mean, Speaker's Corner. That's like a child going to a cosmology conference. It's you're just out of place there.
But this is not funny. I mean, sorry to cut you off, but this is not funny. This is actually scary, and this is only a small sample in UK. I believe he's educated in UK, right? He's born here probably.
Yeah, he's educated.
But the point is.
He's using the word educated. Use that in inverted commas, but yes, I think.
I mean, even though he's educated here, he still behaves like people from Middle East. I mean, that's the scary part. That's the scary part. He's bought into that mentality, though. He's bought into that mentality. Yeah.
And he's got some, like you say, he's got some brain dead supporters who follow that. But actually, do you know what? It is actually good that he speaks. I don't want to prevent him from speaking. He's the best anti-Dawah advert you could ever get. Anybody that's even remotely considering Islam and as a reasonable person, and some of them are not, obviously, he's undoing all the work that the apologists are doing there. So they're all going there, hey, don't do Dawah. And then you hear this radical ISIS type person carry on, and you go, anybody would run a mile from that. So he's working against his own people. They just don't realize it. Or if they do,
that's why I'm really happy, that happened and it was recorded on the camera, because the focus is not on me. I'm a silly person anyway. whatever, whichever side you're on, it doesn't matter. It's my method. You don't have to agree with my method, but these people they're working against themselves. They don't even know it. So all this celebrity from Dawah team is all nonsense, and like Hijab, Ali Dawah, Hamza, all these people are just nonsense anyway.
I mean, they've they provide entertainment, but education is very short supply.
That's the problem with Islam. I mean, like I have this short conversation with Hamza, and he was trying to preach, and then when I try to ask him to show how do you implement Islam by when he asked me what's my argument, I point my argument to a rubbish on the floor, and he looked at the rubbish on the floor and he just walked away. I don't know whether he's conscious about it or subconsciously he's just don't care about rubbish. I mean, if your religion can teach you to be a decent human being, to do simple things, if you can't even take care of simple rubbish, how can you talk about solving the humanity problem and so on?
I looked at his eyes. He did not understand what you were on about. He really, at this level, he doesn't understand it.
He doesn't care anyway. That's why when I point my finger on the rubbish on the floor, he doesn't care. He just walk away. And if he is so high and noble that he can't even take care of a simple problem like rubbish, on the floor. I mean, it doesn't matter if I point at it or not. If he is aware of a rubbish and his behavior, I mean, his habit, if he has a habit of taking care of his surroundings, his environment, then he will automatically know, oh, I'm trying to talk about the rubbish on the floor. But he doesn't care. There's a cup on the floor. He doesn't care. He thought I'm making fun of him. I mean, he just walked away. So
but the funny thing is, Hijab will go on about how green Islam is.
They're just talking. That's why on the camera, when it's off the camera, they don't care. That's the problem of Islam. Is all about theory. I mean, allegedly theory. They can't implement. So we can see this perfect example from Tawhid. I mean, this mob. They're just chanting and shouting. Like this is like warrior cult. I mean, are we fighting here? It's like it's a turf war. The last I checked, this is Speaker's Corner. We're not having turf war. If you want to have turf war, maybe go to Chinatown, have some Chinese try to fight with a Muslim gang or whatever, or a black gangster come here, take their guns that way and try to shoot some people down. I mean, this is Speaker's Corner, for God's sake. I mean, why the hell you treat this like a turf war that we have to try to win and bring in more people to join you on your side like a gang,
But the funny thing is that, especially this Tawhid guy, I made a video where I exposed him quite badly, and this is one of my most popular videos. So, it's also the videos where I am getting the most private messages from the people. You're an asshole. You don't know what you're talking about. You're just jealous. You have no clue. It's amazing.
Yeah. And they're just gonna agree with each other. You just go to the video. The Muslims will have the same answer. Exactly. Oh, thank you for taking You did a great job. What the hell, man? Obviously, he's adding like a retarded, but the Muslims are still saying he's done well. See, this is like a robot. They're like robot. I can't think. They're like zombie. That's why I'm so fed up, man. When I'm surrounded by Muslims back in Malaysia, and I know that problem's gonna spread everywhere. And now it's coming to London, in UK, and the whole Western society. But luckily, people are waking up. So.
That's why I think it's good what you are doing, how you are doing, even if you say you're just a small little thing, but you are really, really like the cat amongst the pigeons.
Yeah, I mean, this is the point that they fail to see. I'm consistently just one person, I'm consistently just one person. So if you disagree with me, you can call me silly, but I'm still one person being silly, solo. But to them, they have this whole machinery that come to the Speaker's Corner in the whole world. All of them are acting silly. They don't even know, because they're surrounded by yes men. Everyone just say, "Yeah, we're doing great. We're doing great." All the Muslims are surrounded saying doing great, but they don't dare. They are afraid to ask a non-Muslim what do they think about Muslim. They are afraid.
And you know what Sarah did? Sarah caught them, and this is what made them, I think, really mad. He says, "Yes, I go and meditate, and I confer with my ancestors." And they say, "What?" He says, "Yes, I am just as crazy as you are."
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. It's like they want self-awareness. That's the problem. I don't know. I can't even understand. I can't even get it their brain. I mean,
I think they price quantity over quality. You can have one right person and everybody else is wrong, but they think because there's more of them, therefore they somehow, more likely to be true. It's like I always say, one candle can hold back all the darkness in the world. So hopefully we're all in some way a candle, and you just keep lighting candles and the darkness will retreat. But even if the candles snuff out, as long as there's one, all the darkness.
That's why they need a lot. They need some Zen thinking. I mean,
you should change your icon.
Numbers.
You should change your icon, because it's like it's the dark side versus the Jedi Knights in some respects. And so there's some Jedi masters maybe a bit more like Stops, and then there's some of us a bit more like a Padawan. But but then you've got that. So you've actually got almost like the wrong icon there, I would say.
I don't think so. I mean, if you watch the latest Star Wars: The Last Jedi, I mean, the good one actually trained the bad one. So like Kylo Ren was trained by Jedi. So
it's the wrong icon you have.
No, I don't care. I mean, I don't care. I mean, if you watch The Last Jedi, actually Kylo Ren tried to work with Rey. So the dark side and the what do you call the good side try to work together to fight the Sith Lord or something. I don't know the names, but yeah, my icons, it doesn't matter. It's just that, I mean,
I know.
Something, I mean, something is off about this Muslim. I don't know why this is. It's like as if we can remove IQ test. We just have to replace IQ test with religion. So the one that take up Islam are most likely stupid. I'm not trying to make this up. I'm trying to provoke or something. It's just if you look at Islam is like the quick rise in numbers doesn't mean anything. It's like, oh, the numbers of crime is increasing, we're doing great. The crime of drug abuse is increasing. It doesn't mean anything. I mean, Islam is like drugs, drugs abuse. It's like people that look up to Islam is like, I think they're lost their mind. It's almost like a drug addict. That's the way I see it. So the numbers mean nothing. The numbers mean nothing. So I see that
I want to just welcome in Anza and TJ. They are regular panelists that join us as well. Tanwa, I want to move on because you did actually post a few things that you wanted to talk about, which I think is quite interesting. So one of the things you wanted to talk about is the lack of objectivity in Islam. Maybe you can share with us what you mean by that, and then we can talk about that.
So yeah, I already somehow brought up some of the points about objectivity, which are lacking in Muslim communities. Like it's one-sided view for them. It's always about Islam. So for example, let's take the halal diet, for example. They don't look at it objectively. They only talk about themselves. Like, hey, we are Muslim, you have to respect us. So halal diet, they try to force it in slowly to the school system in the UK already, by the way. In Malaysia, it's everywhere. So they never think about what if my belief is I don't like halal diet because the way they slaughter animals are cruel. So why is it okay for your belief but not for my belief? See, they don't have this objective view. It's always we have to succumb to their demand. So when I say the lack of objectivity is they don't look at history or any kind of event or matters objectively. It's like they look at it as there's a good and bad. Yeah, there's a good and bad. That's not how the world works, There's no pure good and there's no pure evil. It's not black. It's not just black and white in the world. Nothing is black and white. That's why I always try to. When I was in Speaker's Corner, when I spoke to some of the ex-Muslim or non-Muslim, I talk about it. It's like I think Muslims are lacking this simple concept about Zen, or Buddhism, Chan Buddhism or Zen Buddhism, which is the same thing, by the way. Anyway, so let me bring up this story about this Zen story. Yeah, so in this Zen story, it would actually teach you about objective. How do you look at things objectively? Yeah. So there's this story which brought up by Alan Watts. I think he's a British. He traveled around Asia, and then he took this story and tried to spread it in the West. So he talked about this story like in the long time ago. There's this farmer in China. He has a horse. So one day the horse ran away, and all the neighbors just come surrounded him and saying, "Oh, that's so bad. I mean, what a pity." And then the farmer replies, "Maybe." And then the next day, you probably heard this story anyway. So the next day, the horse came back and brought back 3 wild horses. And then the neighbor come surrounded him again and saying, "Wow, this is wonderful news." Yeah. And then the farmer replies, "Maybe." And then day after, his son tried to ride on one of the wild horses, the untamed horse, and he fell down and broke his leg. Yeah. So now the neighbors come again and say, "Wow, oh, that's terrible. Wow, this is terrible." And then the farmer replies saying, "Maybe." And the next day, the Chinese soldiers try to come over to his place and try to recruit soldiers. And fortunately, his son broke his leg, so he's not qualified. He can't be a soldier. So they let him pass. So he did not enlist to be the soldier. So and then now all the neighbors comes around the farmer and say, wow, this is good news. Your son don't have to go to war. And then the farmer reply, maybe. So if you look at the way the farmer replies, it's like, there's no good news or bad news. It's just a series of events. Yeah, it's just a series of events. When you can have a look at this, everything as a series of events, then you will be able to look at things objectively. And when you are able to look at things objectively, you will be very resourceful because everything is just something for you to use, something for you to learn. You're always learning. To Islam, it's not the case. If one day Islam take over China, they will come up with a new Zen story called the Islamic Zen story. So I'm going to rephrase the whole story. So one day, the farmer, there's one Muslim farmer in China, and one of the horse ran away, and the neighbors surround him and say, it must be the Jew who stole the horse, yeah? And the farmer say, yeah, it must be the Jew, damn the Jew. And the next day, the horse came back and brought back 3 wild horses. And then the neighbors surround the farmer and say, Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar. And then the farmer said, yeah, Allah Akbar, Inshallah, Mashallah, whatever. And day after, yeah, and his son tried to ride the horse and broke his leg. And now the neighbors around him and say, this horse must be funded by CIA, must be funded by the West. That's why they try to kill your son. And then the farmer say, it must be, yeah, damn the West, fuck the West, yeah. And then the next day, I don't want to keep going, you know. You get the point, right? They're always in this eternal victim mentality. They will just keep blaming. That's why you look at the Quran, they are so racist, the books. I mean, if you're a religion, your book, you should not point out a specific race, you know. It should be neutral. It should be neutral. Yeah.
That story was epic.
Yeah, I don't want to continue, but you get the point. They're just blaming. They don't have this objective view.
Fan, so I've heard that story, and your twist on it was funny.
Yeah, that's a Muslim version of Zen story. I mean, that's why I'm saying they like this Zen. So that's why it's like they don't have wisdom, you know. Without wisdom, you don't have this self-awareness. You can't solve any problem anymore. Then you can't be objective about anything. That's why you look at them. It's always about they are the victim, you are the oppressor. Everywhere they go, even when they're minority, they are victim. When they're majority in Malaysia, in Indonesia, they are the victim. What the hell, man? You're majority. You are the majority. You are still victim. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? When you're majority, you are still victim. They can't think for themselves. They don't ask the honest question like, why we are the majority? Why are we the victim? So everywhere they go, they just keep blaming. They don't have the objective view about the world, event, and so on. That's why they remain backwards forever, because this book is rubbish. The whole Quran is rubbish. Yeah. So objective, I mean, that's the first thing we need to be. I mean, to unlock the wisdom in your mind. I mean, without the wisdom, if you can't be objective about anything, then you can't learn. That's the problem with the world today, not just Muslim, even the extreme left wing today. They look at history as like a moral book, you know. It's like they look at the book, they look at the date, they remember the date, the event, that's it. They don't try to understand why this event happened. You see, they don't try to apply this, like the Zen story I talked about earlier about the horse, the farmer, to analyze history. They just look at the event. Oh, Hitler did this. He's a bad guy. Germany is a bad guy. They don't try to understand what is leading up to this event, because they don't ask the question like, hey, how come World War I happened without Hitler anyway? So what's really causing this problem? They don't ask those kind of questions. They're just reading history as moral guide book, like how people read Quran. So that's a problem.
Well, they think it's objective, though, but they think it's objective. They think they've got an objective book with objective truths sent down from a creator. So obviously they will deny what you say and go, hey, no, we've got a book, you know, Allah sent it to Muhammad and it's been perfectly recorded. And so that's all objective. And the rest of you guys are just going on your personal opinions.
Whatever. I don't trust a guy who heard some voice in the cave, yeah? If I tell them the same thing today, they won't believe in me. They're the one that keep telling me, the one in Speaker's Corner, they keep telling me, don't believe the fake news that are making a bad news about Muslim. But I mean, if you don't trust the fake news today, then how can you trust a book that was written by some, I don't know what the fuck it is, written a book a long time ago, and then you say this is the truth. And what's the truth? How do you prove this is actually from the God? They can't prove it. They just use theory. I mean, it's just all bullshit. If you can't even believe anything today, how can you believe things that was wrote a long time ago? It will be modified. It's also obvious it's created by human. I mean, come on, just use common sense. A guy sitting in a cave heard some voice. That's the kind of guy that was in the mental asylum today, yeah? Having imaginary friend.
Yeah. I mean, if that happened today and anybody claimed that, yes, we'd section them. But because somebody heard it 1,400 years ago, somehow that makes it more credible.
Yeah. And yeah, but I know a lot of them actually knows this, but they refuse to let it go because they look at religion Islam as their culture. They look at it as a culture. They want to defend it. They want to defend this culture. That's when problem comes. That's why we have a lot of wars based on religion.
I want to bring in. Yeah. Sorry, Dan. I want to bring in Answer here because he's an ex-Muslim, so he's very much like yourself, who's quite passionate about it. Answer, if you're there, maybe you can share a little bit because obviously, Dan, you've now got an ex-Muslim that's in the chat here that you can speak to. You've probably met him, I guess. Have you guys met in Speaker's Corner?
Maybe I met a lot of guys, but I'm not good with names, so pardon me if I don't remember the names.
I think briefly, maybe just like for 1 or 2 minutes. Didn't really get to have a chat. There was quite a few people around, but yeah, I definitely made a point to come and say hello to Tan once I saw his first video.
Yeah.
Hi. Yeah.
Cool. So the other thing you wanted to talk about was the mob mentality, which you've kind of covered, but maybe you can. Are you referring to Speaker's Corner, which is obviously one place, or you're just referring in general to the mob mentality of Muslims?
So yeah, this has already been covered just now through our conversation, but that's the scary part. If you already look at Speaker's Corner in UK, in the United Kingdom, and most of these Muslims are actually educated here, but somehow they still have this roots tying back to the mob mentality in Middle East or even Malaysia or Indonesia or the whole Asia. That's troublesome. Is it not crazy? It looks like this is not right, you know. If you can see this same behavior already happening in Speaker's Corner, imagine what will happen if this whole thing was actually spread all over the world, invisible, hidden under each corner of the community, having this kind of people. And not just about non-Muslim, the Muslim among this group, they can't even speak out against anything. The moment they try to have a different opinion, they will be surrounded by people and try to silence him, saying you can't do this, you can't. That's why Muslim is so difficult for Muslims to leave Islam unless they are willing to be bold and cut ties with all their friends and family. So you see, it's like trying to leave. It's like you see, for Muslims trying to leave Islam is like trying to go on a journey there's no turning back. It's like I have to forget about everyone to leave Islam. That's how crazy it is. That's why even for their marriage and the Sharia law and things like that, for women to leave their husband is not easy. They will send this imam, all this so-called Muslim specialist, scholar, whatever imam to try to talk you out of doing that. You know, this is what I call the mob mentality. They try to pressure you, intimidate you. Yeah, even the Mahmoud guy tried to do the same thing to me. I try to speak something, and then he tried to intimidate me. It doesn't work. I don't give a shit. So they try to intimidate people from speaking out against Islam. That's why you can see they're spending so much energy in silencing different opinion about Islam, but they don't spend the same energy into countering extremism, countering terrorism, trying to fix their own problem. You can tell based on all the simulation, I call it simulation, in Speaker's Corner, and you can see what is their priority. They are willing to come to Speaker's Corner to speak out against me, but they're not willing to go out and speak out against Islam, about terrorists and all the extremists, and how flawed is the system of Islam today, with the Sharia Council, with the mosque, the way mosque works. Yeah, you can see the priority. Defending the name of Islam is more important than human's life. Let's put it that way. Yeah, I can actually talk a lot more about the Ali Dawah drama, but I don't want to talk about that today. Yeah, but there's so much going on there. You can tell the priority. They don't care about human life. To them, protecting the name of Allah is more important, which they fail to see is like, this is the reason why Islam is useless, is fake, because if there's a real God, the God don't need you to defend him. God is almighty. Why does he need you to defend his name? But yet this Muslim want to protect the name of Allah, their religion. Yes,
that's always been inexplicable to me, how they can think that Muhammad is more dear to them than their mother and father. But we've got one of our semi-regular Muslims that's actually joined the chat now. His name is Marshall. I chat to him every so often in private chats as well. And he had a few comments that he wanted to share with you. So go ahead. You guys can have a conversation. Anybody can join in. So welcome, Marshall, to the line.
I've got a question for Chanda.
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead.
Right, so Tan, you know what, yeah? Because I have seen you come to the park, so I want to know, what is your purpose? Is it to go to the park and make fun of the Muslims? I get, what is the purpose of you going there?
Okay. Is that the only question?
Yeah, just answer that one.
Okay, so my purpose, I actually already answered this question earlier. So I dislike Islam, and that's my purpose, and I'm trying to fix this problem. And when I say what I say in the speaker's corner, what I say specifically about the 1.6 billion to 1.6 million, that is real, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to fix the Islamic problem in the world. That's my purpose.
So your purpose of coming to the park is to show to the people that Islam is bullshit,
that's just one
right?
part of the method. One part of the. It's not everything.
But
it's not everything.
But what is the point of making fun of the Muslims and Islam? Is it that that doesn't sound moral? You get what I'm saying? So just going down and say, "Oh, yeah, you Muslims are bad people. Islam is this. Islam is that." That doesn't make sense.
Why doesn't it make sense?
Because you just gotta let people believe whatever they want, even if you don't agree with that. Just let them do whatever they want.
Then why do they come to the speaker's corner and preach? If they come to preach, then they have to stand up to opposition view. And people make fun of Christian in speaker's corner anyway, and then no Christian has threatened anyone. But when it comes to Muslim, to Allah, you have to threaten and then silence the opposition view. If you don't want a different view, don't come to speaker's corner and preach. Easy.
No, but you're kind of being aggressive when you go there. Because I've seen the videos. I've seen the videos.
I'm a one man.
Yeah, because they were shouting, calling the Muslims such names. That's not a good thing to do.
Unless I'm funded by the Chinese tribes, I'm just a one man show. I'm just
I get that.
And why do you think I'm aggressive? I'm the one that being surrounded by aggressive people, and I'm the one that get kicked by Muslim. Yeah, I'm the one that get kicked and punched by Muslim multiple times.
I got no problem. Say whatever you like about Islam. Say whatever you like about the Prophet. That's you. But I don't know why the Muslim, the so-called Sunni Muslim, they get triggered by somebody who is going against their belief. Because I'm a Muslim, and I say whatever you want. Because I'm not gonna go and say, "Oh, yo, I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna do that." No, that's you, bro. I'm not. Listen, that's what I'm saying. But I don't know what is like when you go down to the park. Is it your purpose just to make fun of the Muslims, or is it basically to mock Islam?
You don't have to know what's my purpose, because like I say, I'm gonna fix the Islamic problem, and I'm gonna do it.
That's not the right way to do so. Is it like, hold on, so you want to fix Islam, so that's how you're gonna do it, by making fun of the Muslims, right? No, that's not a good way. I think anybody on this panel is not gonna agree with you.
That's why since the beginning I say you don't have to agree with my method. The focus is not on me. The focus is on the Muslim community.
Way to be effective, though.
Marshall, you need to let him finish.
Bro, but I don't know, because I want to know what is your look, because I don't think anybody would
doesn't matter though. Doesn't matter what he's going, whether he's going to do handstands or he's going to play tiddlywinks in the park. Doesn't matter to you. What matters, I think, to people who are viewing is whether there's a conversation going on. So the motive of somebody seems to me irrelevant. Are they speaking the truth or not? Does it matter? Because most Muslims in the park have got a very thin skin and have got a juvenile psychological disposition. That's what I'm saying. Doesn't matter. Why is it important?
Right, and that's what I'm saying. I don't know why.
So Marshall, listen to me. I have a solution for you. If you want me to disappear, ask the Muslim.
No. I don't.
Hold on. Let me finish. If you want me to disappear, just ask the Muslim preacher, the debater, or the celebrity, stop preaching Islam. Then you will not see me on camera anymore. Mark my word.
But listen,
you can't have my word. You will not see me anymore the moment there are no Muslim preacher there. But if there are Muslim debater preacher there talking about Islam, then I'm there to speak up a different view. Okay.
Right, so you can express your own opposite view about Islam, but when you go to the park, because I've seen the videos, right? You're so aggressive. You keep shouting on the Muslims, insulting them, calling them such names.
Shouting is aggressive. That's aggressive. Punching people are aggressive. This is my point. Yeah, Islam is
calling a lot of Muslims homosexuals.
To you, priority. You see, to you, priority. Human's life is the secondary. Number one priority is about defending the name of Islam. You are saying I'm aggressive because I make fun of Islam, but to you, punching, hitting me, I'm not aggressive.
But I'm saying
you have lost the plot. You have lost the plot. You don't even know what is aggressive anymore. What is aggressive? Tell me, what is aggressive?
But listen, don't get emotional. I'm saying you can express your own view in a nice way. Don't get that kind of nice view.
Stephen Fry on the
because that shows how bad you are.
He just say fuck everything. He just fuck the God. Stephen Fry on big TV screen in UK.
Hold on. So if I'm a Muslim, right, and I know a lot of Christians, I don't agree with them on a lot of the things, right? So I'm not gonna go there and make fun of them and say, oh, you're the bad people, you're the Christian, you're the homosexual. No, that's not a good way to do so.
That's your opinion,
right? So what about people? People gonna they're gonna condemn you for doing that.
Who's gonna condemn me? Let them condemn. Did I prevent them from condemn? I'm not like you. I'm not you. I do not go there and say you can't condemn me. See, that's
Marshall, everybody's got a different approach. Some people condemn me because I'm too charitable. Some people condemn Stops because he's too blunt. Some people condemn Amza. there's always going to be condemnations. Some of us condemn you sometimes. So that's just part of life. You just got to live with it. If he's not physically hurting anybody, he's not threatening anybody with some kind of violence, he's entitled to do what he does. I don't agree with everything Tan does. He might not agree with everything I say at the park or whatever, but he's entitled to do it. So questioning his motive or his approach, I don't think that's particularly useful, because you're not going to get him to change his mind, and we're not necessarily going to condemn him. I might disagree with some of the things that he says, because I think maybe there's a few things where he might not be entirely accurate, but that's as far as I go. If he claimed that he was gonna, all Muslims should die or whatever the case is. Now, sometimes he makes fun. He says, "Oh, they should be banned" or whatever the case. I mean, you can see him smiling in his face there. But if it was serious, if tomorrow Tan went down there and said, "Hey, I want all Muslims dead, and I'll give £1,000 to the first person who kills a Muslim," I would speak out against that immediately. In fact, I'd have him, I'd report him to the police. Now, he's not going to do that. So, all you're doing is saying, "Hey, you're doing it in a way that I don't like." Well, so what? I mean, Muslims should grow a thick skin. They need to rise to another level, which is free speech. We're not going to come down to their level. We were talking about this before the show started. So, if you want to ask something, I mean, you've just got a personal opinion. So, you think he's whatever the case may be, that's fine. You're entitled to have your opinion. But, I mean, come question him on something substantive, not a subjective opinion, because he's not going to change his mind, and we're not necessarily going to condemn him.
That's fine. That's cool.
Well, if you've got something else you want to ask him, go for it. I mean, if it's just that you think he's a bit passionate about it.
That's question, no, I get that. That's his own way, so that's fine to me.
I mean, do you think that he's actually wrong on some of the things he says? And if so, what?
I don't think he's wrong. He just the way that he's done it is not actually acceptable. Like it doesn't make sense. If you don't, that's my own view, right? It doesn't make. That I'm saying it's not acceptable to him. It could be acceptable, but to me, it's not. Because if you don't agree with people, then why coming down and shouting, insulting them, calling them such names? That's actually immoral.
Is it okay when Muslims do that?
They do that, yeah. So and they're wrong, and I condemn what they're doing as well.
Is it okay when Muslims do what Tan does?
No, they're not.
Only a problem when Tan does it.
Not when the Muslims done it, that's wrong as well.
So why do you sit out with Muslim?
I said the way that he's doing it is not okay. It is actually incorrect.
Bias.
Okay, what would you suggest? How should he do that?
And that's why we have a brain. Calm down. We can talk. We can discuss, and then show me why I'm wrong. Don't come down and shout in my face.
Let's you're a bad person. Kumbaya song now, everyone together. 1, 2, 3.
Why you don't want to like when you don't agree with it? Basically, you don't agree with a lot of point on Islam. Bring a Muslim that you want to talk with him, discuss with him in a nice way. Don't come and just insulting him, shouting, calling, because you called to hate a homosexual, right? And I don't think that's fine.
Why do you think that's insult? So did you see the irony here? I mean, why do you think that's insult? That's the problem. If I speak nicely and if I try to reason with Muhammad Tawhid, I will not show his true color, because I did it with my method. You can see he's homophobic. And he actually spoke out that the whole entire Muslim community are against gay people, and that's not compatible with.
But how do you know he's gay though?
Without my method, he will not show his true color, and he tried to insult me, saying, when I turn my back towards him, he say, "Yeah, turn your back, you homosexual," as if it is an insult. I mean, so if I'm a heterosexual, I talk to you face to face, means I'm what? Turn your front to me, you heterosexual. So he's using this homosexual word as an insult. For me, I don't care. When he call me I'm gayer, I don't care. I don't even know what the fuck gayer means. You see, if I don't use my method, I will not show his true color. Because of my method, his true color are shown. He's not honest. He's not sincere. He's there to win as for Muslim, for Islam. Ideology. Yeah. So trying to reason with these people will not get anywhere. I live among them. I know their way they work. So that's my philosophy.
Bruce Lee.
Yes, Bruce Lee.
There you go. Some people were saying you were Bruce Lee in the chat.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
But I cannot deny you're funny though.
Yeah?
You just make a lot of jokes in the park.
Yeah.
Okay, Marshall, you done with this?
Marshall, can I try and say something? Because the thing is,
you are being
a bit biased. You are being a bit biased. I mean, considering that you have watched as much videos as the rest of us from, say, the last couple of years. Let's be honest now. When people do debate with the Muslims, the Muslims there, and they win the debate or they make really good points, it's pretty much always the Muslims who are the first to start getting personal, to start getting aggressive, to start getting intimidating. especially with the groups and gangs that they hang around with. We all see it in the videos, the physicality, you know, the pushing and shoving, the cheering, and, you know, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, you see that they're the first people to behave in that way. However, they're also the first people that are constantly going on about, we're the religion of peace, we're doing this, blah, blah, blah. So people like Tan are seeing this discrepancy and saying, well, you know what, this is bullshit. Let me turn up there and put their peacefulness to the test. Yeah. Now we live in a country where what Tan has done is not illegal, is not immoral. Your sensibilities might tell you that, but if you've grown up in the UK, you should know that this is not transgressing any laws. This is actually acceptable behavior in Speaker's Corner. So what he's done there is just like an experiment to demonstrate that if they genuinely were peaceful, they would turn around and say, oh, Tan, you're a rude guy, we don't want to talk to you, see you later, and move on. Yeah, because that's come on, let's be honest, that's what if you were a peaceful person, if somebody like Tan came to me and started behaving like that about my atheism, I'd just say, mate, you're just an idiot, I don't want to talk to you, and go and talk to someone else. I wouldn't start hitting him and punching him. So what he's done is basically proven his point 100%.
Yeah, and you know what? I think there was a Somalian black Muslim guy who tried to, you know, I think he was trying to bully him. I don't know his name though. Yeah, but I think he knows the guy. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's your point? Is it? It's like you're trying to.
I'm just saying
vent your anger on me.
No, I'm saying
I'm not the focus here. I'm just one man here.
I'm just saying the way that I don't agree with your way, but you can have your own view.
Sure,
just the way you're doing it is not right.
Not everyone in this chat room agree with me. Yeah, get that, understand that. So it doesn't mean, but you can't silence me. You can't silence me.
No, but you know what? I cannot deny that the Muslims in Nepal, they get triggered so easily. You know, because
that's the fundamental flaw about Islam or Muslim.
No, it's not Islam. It's the Muslims. Like you cannot associate Muslims with Islam. Those are the Muslims. Those are the people, right?
Why not? If you don't associate Muslim with Islam, then what the hell is Islam?
I'm saying the Muslims, when you say that you don't like something about Islam, they get triggered. They don't like it, so they get emotional, right?
Yeah, that means they're not following Islam. That means Islam is not working. Islam is a failure. So I prove my point again.
Why would you? No. Why would you associate Islam with the Muslims? Islam is something, and the Muslims are something else. The people,
that's your belief. That's your belief. Islam and Muslim are the same thing. Without Muslim, there will be no Islam. There will be no Islam.
No, but what I'm talking about the human aspect. When they get triggered, that's not Islam, because they're human beings.
That's why. Where's this so-called religion of peace? They get triggered so easily compared to other religion, other people, other human. Are they fundamentally flawed?
That's not because
that's why I'm saying that's why I'm saying we need to replace IQ test with religion. The one who take up Islam are the most probably the on the lower level, whatever that is. You know, they are not even human. They get triggered so easily. They want to kill, punch people in the name of Allah, a fake friend, imaginary friend. They belong in mental asylum. Yeah, they're crazy. They don't even know it. When I act crazy, I know I'm acting crazy. But when they're acting crazy, they do not know that. The Muslims do not know they're mentally ill.
I think the other point to make, Marshall, is that Islam is one of the few religions that gets people to believe that Allah is more precious, Muhammad is more precious than the family. And then they react as if somebody was swearing or cursing at their mom or dad. Now, that in itself is a direct consequence of Islam. Nobody else, no other religion I'm aware of, takes their, quote, prophet so seriously as to say, hey, my prophet is more important to me than my family, the people that grew up, that fed me, that loved me. I believe and I care more about some guy that died 1,400 years ago that I didn't even know, hardly met, and there's some books that supposedly talk about him. So there are direct consequences from Islam, and Muslims react based on what Islam tells them or what they perceive it to say. So there is a correlation. It's not like, hey, here's Islam in one corner and Muslims are all doing their own thing in the other corner. They are doing things in relation to what Islam teaches them. But somebody, one of the Muslims asked the question, how is Malaysia dealing with Islamification in the last 15 years? What are the changes that you've seen?
So, to be honest, I can't really tell because in Malaysia there's two parties, yeah. So the opposition and the coalition government. So the coalition government is like 80% racist and 20% Islamist, but the opposition is like 80% Islamist, no, 50% Islamist and 50% liberal. So we don't really have like a real left wing and right wing in Malaysia. It's like both party you vote for, there will be some extremists. So the moment that, let's put it, for example, the moment the coalition government are losing, they will try to suddenly become the most Muslim they can ever be, the champion of Islam. You get my point? And in the opposition party, it's the same thing. They've been saying, oh, we are fighting for Islam anyway. So that's why I'm saying we don't really have a left wing or right wing in Malaysia. And when you ask me how are they really fighting this, I don't know, because Malaysia are being squeezed in between by two power, so from US as well as from Arab as well as from China. So so it's like everything is happening in Malaysia. We're like bad. We're doing terrible at everything. So so we don't really have a real terror attack yet, but we have one which is very small. There was one grenade being thrown into a pub in Malaysia. It just hurt someone. I don't think it killed anyone. So in that sense, I would say we are doing pretty well in fighting terrorism, as in physical violence. But in terms of eradicating extremist ideology from the Islamist party and from the Islamist world is terrible, because we are actually exporting university lecturer who teach people how to make bomb. So we are like supporting terrorists indirectly. Yeah, we teach them Muslim terrorists how to make bomb and kill people in Bali and so on. So if you're saying how are we doing, we're just like not good. I would say it's not good or not bad. It's just like in the middle. Yeah. So but now the thing is it's like a chain reaction from the whole world. So it's like a domino effect. Everything is falling apart. So after the Indonesia's fall down, collapse, the country's collapse is like total shithole now. According to Donald Trump, it's a shithole country. This Islamist ideas is taking over slowly, bit by bit, chipping away our country, and that's why it's on the decline. But the politician will always use it to stay in power. The moment you try to challenge this current government, they will always be the champion of Islam, all of a sudden, for no reason.
I want to thank the guests who's been on, Tan. Thanks for coming on. TJ, Ansa, and Marshall, thank you for joining us. Thank you to everybody who's been watching.